Ah, the perfect plant. Or is it? Hi, my name is Memo, this is my channel, Houseplantygoodness, and essentially it's a place where I like to geek out about my big passion. You might be able to see some of it behind me, it's tropical houseplants. So yes, today I want to dive into the notion of what makes a plant perfect. Or, for that matter, should a plant be perfect? And I'm mostly talking about plants that we would have in our homes or in our collections, specifically most types of houseplants. Obviously here I've got an example of an Aglaonema pictum tricolor, but this could apply to any plant that you have, again, in your home or in your collection. And this is a video that I wanted to do off the back of an old video that I did now at the beginning of the year when I was talking about some of my predictions for the year. And it kind of touches on that notion of a perfect plant that you want to keep perfect, or a perfection within a plant that you are striving towards. As always, I'm trying to make this a non-judgment zone. So obviously I do encourage you as always to leave your comments down below, but do remember that we can all agree or we can all disagree, and that is fine. Everybody will do whatever they want to do ultimately, and everybody will do what makes them happy. But I've got a few kind of thoughts and a few questions for people when it comes to the perfect plant. So consider this me deconstructing what is a perfect houseplant. And to be clear, what I mean about perfection, I mean appearance-wise. I mean the plant being as pristine as possible. And I'm specifically using an example of this plant because this is a plant I picked up literally yesterday from a local garden center. So this is as pristine as we are all generally going to be getting our plants, which is when it comes directly from a shop or from a grower. So let's start the discussion. And as a starter for 10, I want to kind of ask the people who are really still striving towards having perfect plants. And obviously you can see with my collection, a lot of the times, a lot of my plants are not looking as perfect. I don't have picture perfect leaves, and I personally don't strive for picture perfect leaves. But I want to kind of get a better understanding, because I know there's a lot of discourse going around online as to plants looking perfect and whether or not that is attainable. So, first question that I have is, for the people that want to achieve this kind of level of perfection within a plant, how many plants are you trying to do that with in your collection or in your house? Is that all of your plants? Do you have a lot of plants, or is it a small selection of plants? Because in my kind of humble kind of view, I would imagine that that is very sustainable if you are doing it for 1 to 5 plants, maybe a tiny bit more depending on how much capacity you've got to do that level of hovering and that level of kind of optimization for a plant. This obviously wouldn't always necessarily apply to really, really common houseplants. I'm not talking about you keeping a golden pothos pristine, because to be fair, for a lot of the hardier, more common plants, this really doesn't come as much of an issue. Yes, you can get some issues, and yes, you can get a plant that doesn't look perfect, but those types of plants tend to lean more into not being fussy enough that they're going to look a bit busted when you kind of don't get everything 100% perfect. I'm probably talking more about plants that might be considered by a few as slightly on the fussy side, or maybe plants that need very specific conditions. So yeah, I am curious because, as I said, not something I've ever strived for, purely because I know myself enough to know that I probably wouldn't be able to do that, and it would cause no end of like grief for me. But I've got hundreds of houseplants, and I might be one of the few remaining people that have got larger collections. I know everybody's downsizing at the moment, and everybody needs to follow their own journey, and I am happy for the people that are doing that as long as it's bringing them joy, basically. So I don't imagine that I'd be able to achieve that if I had more than, like, say 5, 10 plants. because that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. You need to remember that a lot of the times, and I keep bringing up this plant, I've got a few that I bought recently. Actually, let me show you another plant talking about a golden pothos. And I'm going to be doing another video for this week. I don't know which one's going to come out first necessarily, but you'll be seeing these plants again in that video for a very specific reason. But this is a golden pothos that again was purchased at the same time as the Aglaonema pictum tricolor. And you can see even with this one, there are some kind of flaws within its leaves. Not a huge amount. There's some rips and some tears. But if I had, say, 50, 100 of these plants, would it be sustainable for me to try to keep them at this level, at the level that a grower might have it? And obviously, for a lot of the growers, they need the plants to look at their peak kind of appearance because they need to sell it. An attractive plant that doesn't have any blemishes or doesn't have any crispy bits or doesn't have any rips or holes in the leaves is going to sell a lot more than plants that are looking a bit on the busted side. Please see all of the bargain basement plants that you get that are usually leftovers, which are looking less than perfect. Although, to be fair, most of those plants with the tiniest bit of care can still look great after you kind of bring them back off the deathbed that they might have been because maybe the shop was overwatering, underwatering, etc. But this is sustainable for a lot of the growers because they can do it en masse. And also, I'll tell you something for free, because I have seen some of these growers, when you go there, even their plants don't look 100% pristine all the time, or at least not all of them do. So what you see coming on the market is the stuff that is already, it's at their picture perfect moment to be put in shops to be sold. There are some of their plants that might not look so great because statistically not every single one of them is going to look perfect at the time that they need to sell, and sometimes, actually a lot of the times, they will keep those plants back. So even they are not putting those plants forward. They are kind of giving us a sense of like, this is perfection and look, we can achieve it really easily, when actually that's not the truth 100% of the time. And on to the next point and kind of conversation topic really is, what if you are trying to kind of keep a plant pristine, what are you trying to achieve with that? I kind of want to get into the thought process of people. Again, not a judgment basically, but I'm trying to get into the process to understand what the end goal is there. Because I know for a long period of time, and obviously things are changing as was evident by a lot of people's comments on that prediction video, the era of that picture perfect Instagrammable plant is either completely dead at this point or is very much on its deathbed. So what is the end goal here? Is it a plant that you can look at and just go, you know what, I did that. Look at how absolutely stunning that plant looks every day when you're kind of passing by it, or when you're kind of like caring for it and all these things? Or is it because you want the validation from other people that might be coming into your space and seeing your plants, where they can just go, wow, look at you, mad skills, because you are keeping something that is a tropical plant that should be growing somewhere in like a tropical rainforest, completely and utterly happy within your home. I just want to understand what the reasoning is on there. And these are the two that I can think of. If there's something else and you are one of those people that wants those kind of picture perfect plants, even if it's not because you want to take pictures, the assumption isn't here that everybody's growing a plant to get it perfect so that they can put it on Instagram. But yeah, like what's the reasoning behind this? And again, kind of linked into it is another kind of conversation point is, who are you trying to impress with this? Is it yourself? Is it somebody else? Is it because it's something that you can tick off your list? Because I know a lot of people, will kind of do this as a personal challenge to themselves and say, look, can I keep that plant that absolutely everybody is struggling to keep pristine? Can I keep it happy? Can I keep it 100% happy? Even if it's a select few plants within your wider collection, or if it's all of your plants and you are kind of like better than everybody else and managing to keep like 200 plants completely pristine at any given time. That's something that I'm really, really curious with, because it's one of those things that, and I don't know how else to describe it, but you know, sometimes those, what was it? the expression that was on the internet for a long time was that the dance mums, and like they wanted their kids to be completely perfect at dance. And even then I was struggling to understand. I'm just like, are you, who who are you trying to impress with that? Are you trying to impress yourself and say, look, my kid is great, and look at all the time and effort I've put into the kid, because a lot of the times it's not about the kid, it's about the parent at that point. Or is it because you want all the other like dance mums to think that you are better than the rest of them? Or is it because you are trying to ultimately get that kid into dance school? I know I'm kind of like stretching this example a bit more, but let's bring it back into plants. Let's bring it back into plants. So is it because you just kind of want to make sure that, you know what, look at me, I've done great with this plant? Is it because you want to go to the next plant swap, next plant event, or online and just kind of go, oh, look at what I have done and look at how I have kept this 100% happy for the praise and all of these things? Or is it, and this is the third one I was thinking, is it because you are maybe trying to sell some plants and you're kind of building a bit of a community online because ultimately you maybe want to turn it into a business? And you kind of want to say, okay, I'm either going to sell this exact plant that I've kept pristinely, and you can get a very mature specimen of a perfect plant, and I can charge you a bit more for that because you're never going to find a mature specimen, let alone something that's picture perfect from a traditional kind of commercial grower. Or it might be that, look, I've got these perfect plants, and I've seen this a lot of the times with Anthurium growers, the people that might be growing it more on the professional side of things, not talking about the big businesses where they'll have their mother plants and they'll look pristine. And I'm just like, I'm trying to get into the head of that because I'm just like, okay, obviously that's more of a business move. You want to put the best foot forward, as we were talking about before with the commercial grower. Is a similar thing because essentially you are a commercial grower, even if it's at a smaller scale there. But in my head, I'm just sitting there going, well, the mother or even the father plant of, say, something like an Anthurium hybrid or even a Philodendron hybrid or anything else that you want to be doing doesn't need to look picture perfect, because essentially you're getting the DNA from those plants. So as long as the plants are genetically great and they combine perfectly to make really good offspring, and the offspring looks good, I don't understand why the parents need the moment in the spotlight to just kind of say, look, this is perfect. Maybe I do actually. Maybe I'm kind of stretching that. I guess it's that kind of vigor, like if you're ever the kind of person who gets like pedigree animals, a lot of the times if you go to a breeder, like they will want to show you the mother and the father so you can kind of see potentially what the progeny, what the child, what the puppy, what the kitten might look like when it's older, because these are the genetics. I kind of get that. But yeah, I'm really curious, like who's trying to be impressed here? Yourself? Somebody else, third parties, potential buyers, or is there nobody that's trying to get impressed? Are you just doing it for yourself? And again, at that point, you're impressing yourself. I don't know. I'm questioning this. I'm very curious. And my next little question is this something that brings you joy? Sorry, the plant that I was holding up before, I'm kind of showing you plants so you've got something to look at other than my talking face. So the plant I was showing you before is a little baby Epipremnum. So this is the neon pothos, basically, just purely because I need to supplement my other plant that I've had for like 6 or 7 years now. It's looking a bit sparse, and I could propagate, but that was a really cheap little like baby plantless that I can just easily just put into a pot. I don't have time right now. But this is an interesting one. I kind of picked it up same time I picked up the rest of the plants, and I don't know if the label's right with this. I've not even had a chance to look at it online. It could be variegated Epipremnum, but it is getting the splits in the leaves super early without any form of support. So I don't think it is. I'm hoping that the label is correct because it's saying Scindapsus basket, and I'll put the name at the top there, variegated. So I'm hoping this is a Scindapsus because I'm really enjoying growing Scindapsus again a lot, even more so when it starts looking a bit more like it could be an Epipremnum pinnatum. I know for a lot of people that's not the ideal situation, but I do like the fact that this is already kind of getting the splits quite early. Anyway, sorry, off topic. But yeah, the question of the perfect plants. And again, I'm showing you all the perfect plants. I am not taking any credit for these plants. As I said, these are ones that I purchased yesterday. So they are perfect from the grower. And even this is not looking 100% perfect. So there you go. You can kind of see that little new leaf is literally hanging on by a thread. That is pretty much dead. It got bashed around, so that's going to go. So even that's not perfect because of mechanical damage, which could happen in your home all the time. Hands up down below, how many of us have knocked off a brand new leaf that you were waiting for ages for, and you were like babying it and going, I'm not going to touch this, I'm not going to touch this. And look at that, the new leaf is going to be perfect. And then accidentally, without you realizing, you knock it and either chop it off, or this is even more of a slap in the face where you've kind of got it hanging on by a thread and you're just like, that's not going to do anything. I'm going to physically need to remove that off the blood because that's dead in the water. But yeah. Ultimately, what I want to know for the people that really want those picture perfect plants and they strive for them and they go out of the way to get those perfect plants, to get those perfect results, to get a plant that doesn't have any blemishes, doesn't get any pests, doesn't have any real issues. What is the reason for doing that? Obviously, other than the kind of aesthetics and the impressions and all these things, is this something, and again, this is a true question, this is not me judging in any way or form. I'm trying to understand, and I should have asked these questions years ago when people were really kind of getting into it, and I'm kind of at the tail end of it now when people maybe have changed their opinions, but does this bring you happiness? I'm curious, I really am curious, I'm not being patronizing. Is this something that truly you strive for because you know it's going to make you happy to have the plant that's going to be 100% pristine? Because I can talk from, and again, this is only from my perspective, that would stress me out. That's probably one of the reasons why I don't do it with my collection, because that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself when you've got everything else going on. But I also know, because I can be the same at times, putting pressure on yourself to get something that is perfect, I'm not talking about plants for myself at least, could be rewarding within itself. And I know there's a lot of kind of overachievers out there, and I'm kind of putting myself in that, again, maybe not for plants, but on the business and the other sides of my life as well. And there is some kind of excitement and joy that comes with that, even if it might stress yourself or might stress everybody else out. But I'm curious to know, is this something that's done for happiness' sake? Or is it something that people are just doing because it's kind of almost expected from them, that there's this societal pressure or community pressure to just kind of go, oh, I don't know if I want to share that plant. And it's like a dirty little secret that, you know what, it's right back here. It doesn't look great. Please don't look at this. It's fine. And I'm talking about this as somebody who will put all of my flaws on the internet, knowing full well, and let me be clear, I have seen this on the comments a few times on a lot of my videos going, it's this and it's this, and I know better, and you shouldn't be showing that, and it looks horrible. And I'm just like, okay, your opinion. I couldn't care less, basically, for that one. But that's, again, my opinion. And I know that this is something that a lot of people feel very passionately about, either for or against, the for perfect plants or against perfect plants. And they might not look perfect in nature, but then there's the flip side of that of people saying, well, it's not growing in nature and we can keep it a bit more picture perfect. So as I said, this video is me trying to understand. And I think this might also help other people understand. Because before it was a case where a lot of people, where they had their picture perfect plants, the people that weren't felt bad about it almost. It's just like, well, it's a dirty little secret, I'll hide it away. And I think things are changing recently where some people might be getting judged for having the picture perfect plants. And I don't think judgment in either direction is correct. And this is hopefully what this video might do, is maybe just to help everybody understand each other a bit better. It's like, okay, I might not have picture perfect plants. You might have picture perfect plants, but you've got reasons behind it and it makes sense to you and it makes sense to like what you want to achieve with those plants, and it might not do for me, but it doesn't have to. And vice versa as well. Vice versa. Like if somebody doesn't have picture perfect plants, if that makes them happy and it ticks all the boxes for them, who are you to kind of put judgment on them just because you've got the picture perfect plants? It kind of goes both ways. But yeah, I'm very curious. Is this something that brings you joy? Is it something that you do even though you know it's going to stress you out? I'm just curious to kind of find out a bit more as to kind of what the thought process was behind that. But yeah, and let me circle back slightly to the bit that I touched on earlier on about the kind of financial goals that you might have if you wanted a picture perfect plant. And then I'll wrap it up basically, just because I don't want this to be a heavy video. I just want this to be more of a conversation starter of a video. Like I'm hoping the comments will be on fire for this video because I think this is something that we all need to be discussing. So coming back to the financial element that I was talking about just a moment ago, basically. Is this something that people are still even looking for? For the people that are interested in having the picture perfect plants in order to be able to sell them, for example, I want to know from you, the audience, down below, is if you were looking at a plant, and I'm not talking about a plant picture if you're buying something online, for example. I'm not talking about a plant, and it doesn't even need to be actually online. It could be a small shop that might be doing their own growing and propagating and all of these things. As long as the plant doesn't look like it's got pest damage or has recently had pests, because I know that a lot of people might buck on that, and it's not just the plant is looking like it's got problems, but or even if it's looking diseased. Does that make sense? Like if there is kind of a thought that something might be diseased, some people might not want to go for it or with pests because they're not worried about the fact that the plant looks less than perfect, but they're worried about what's caused that. I'm thinking more, and I'm being very specific here, things like cosmetic damage, so things being bashed around or holes in them and all these things. I'm curious from the people that are buying, if you came across a plant that you really wanted, and I'll give you two scenarios. One is a plant that you can find like everywhere and the price is the same everywhere and it's relatively cheap and affordable, and you find one that's grown by, say, somebody as a propagation. It might be the same price as a commercial grower, but it might be a bit cheaper, but it maybe isn't perfect versus the perfect one that you might get in the shops, and everything's the same except for the looks of it. There's no disease, there's no pest or anything like that. Would you have a preference to either or? And on the flip side, the second scenario is you found a plant that you've been trying to find for ages and you found it at a great price, but it's not looking picture perfect. So say somebody wants an Anthurium Wendlingeri, for example, but it's looking a bit bashed. There's nothing else wrong with it, but it's looking a bit bashed. Would you still purchase that plant knowing that you might not find one, let alone a picture perfect one, or would you hold out for a picture perfect one? And if so, why? I'm just really, really curious to see what the reasoning is. Again, no judgment. It's just I want to get the understanding if there is that strive towards perfection, why there is that strive towards perfection, and has anything changed in this respect at a fundamental level in the last few years? Yes, sorry. Maybe it's a deep topic. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's, on the very surface of this is a very superficial topic. I'm talking about pretty plants, really. But I think it's something that we've never been given a point to discuss it. It's something that's always been kind of talked a bit around, but never really addressed or kind of gone into more detail. And I'm hoping this video might be one that sparks that conversation. So I do encourage anybody that watches this as well. Obviously, you can share your opinions, but if you've got somebody that you know who's also a plant collector or has got house plants, who never wants a perfect plant or always wants a perfect plant, and you've got a good relationship, and obviously they're not going to get offended by you sending them this video, send them this video. Send them this video and hopefully they'll voice their opinions down below, because it's hopefully this is a safe space to kind of say, okay, I do this for this, or I don't do this for this reason, and it makes me happy or it doesn't make me happy. Like, all of these things are worth discussing, because I think the more we understand each other and how we kind of handle or how we prefer to do things, the kinder hopefully we will all be towards each other, to just kind of go, oh, okay, you know what? There might be somebody who doesn't feel like they've got full control over their own lives. And I know a lot of people in my life who have kind of got issues that they're dealing with control, and whether or not they're OCD or a lot of different control based behaviors, if that makes sense. So something like having a perfect plant is a great way for them to actually exercise control over something that they can control. So it can be quite therapeutic in that respect. Or I know a lot of people that get really stressed really easily, and actually having something else to stress about might be a bit too much. So I'm just curious to see where people sit with this. But yes, I have waffled on for far too long. But as I've been saying throughout this video, let me know comments down below. I'm very, very curious. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully I shall see you here soon. And I truly, truly hope that you have a great rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.